Well, welcome back to the shop, everyone. We're going to carry on today with the column. We'll take the clamps off. I had it sitting in the clamps overnight, so here we go. All right, got all the clamps off. I'm just going to lay it down. Hitting my motorcycle. There we go. Nice. Might be hard to see from that angle, but there's a, it stands proud all the way around. I'm going to grab the sander and take that down flush the best we can. There's some, inside these corners here might be a little difficult, but we're going to go ahead and do that. Alright, there we go. That's a lot of that done. There's some little corners here I've got to get out the multi-tool for that. And I'll start filling in all these little holes right now. Alright, there we go. Clean that up with a hand. Then sander. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to fill in all the little gaps right now, go around the putty. We'll set this aside, then we'll start on the lighthouse. Not the lighthouse, pardon me, the actual light. I'm using this Elmer's Pro Bond Max made for exterior, and I have used this for years and I have never ever seen it crack. In my application, mind you, it's going to be buried under probably three layers of paint, but I have never ever seen it crack. The important thing, that made it. That was a lot of work. And the base, what we still have to do to this, because that sits on there like that, and then this goes up there, about there. Still have to finish this off. It's still way out of size. I should bring this over, redraw it, draw it on top of there, and then just leave it just a little bit proud so we can sand that down really, really nicely. The Sambro Lighthouse has, it's slightly rounded. It's not perfectly, it's not nice and square. It is rounded, and then we can start thinking about the railing. But I'm looking at this, and I think that is too thick. Just quickly bring up the Sambro Lighthouse and have a little look at it. And see here. Try and find a good one. There's one. Yeah. Let me see if I can show you this. Hopefully you can. No glare. Hopefully, I don't even know if that's in focus. But anyway, there's the top of the lighthouse. See how skinny that is? That's way too big there. I'm gonna have to take a bit off of that. Plug this. There. So let's get a pencil and let's mark that off a little bit. And that makes it good because by the look of things, I sanded this. I bowed this at the bottom. I'll put a couple more after this. Let's put a couple more bands on this guy first. There, put that on the side, let that sit up. So yeah, we'll probably do that today too. But what I'm going to do, I want to get this sorted. So I don't know if you can see the dirt. If it fell and hit like that. Knock some glue loose inside, but we'll get that off. So what I'm thinking is, by looking at the picture, pardon me for sniffling. Yeah, but look at that picture. I'm going to take it right down to about here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take half off to start with. Oh shoot, I don't even got my dust extraction system set up yet. We'll do that and I'll be right back with you. Nope, good. GoPro, stop recording. So what we're going to do here, we're going to first take off the base. I'm going to take off 1 1/8 inches, and we'll see how that looks. I bet you we're taking off more. All right, that looks better. I was hearing, as I was doing, I was hearing these little tings, and I go, pardon me, oh, little brads. It was now and then just hitting the odd little high brad in there, so I have to bend those over. But that's looking better. We might just take off another 1/8. Tell you what we're going to do. We're just going to bend these. These can be bent down by hand. Besides, one thing I always say, if you're not bleeding, you're not quite having enough fun yet. Or you're not bleeding till you're not having fun till you're bleeding. All right, let's see how much of a mess we can make out of this. Hate to have to remake the whole thing, but no. There we go. Okay, that's better. So I can. It's a little wonky because you're cutting it like that, but I can sand that down. We can make up a little. Oh yeah, that'll work. I'll just sand that down on the belter and get it all nice and level. It's not. They're not even close. But we'll even it all out. I'll draw a line around it and we'll sand to the line. All right, there we go. We got that down. What I did quickly, I just cut the back off of this, so we are going to put that back on there. I will have to cut out little notches here for the uprights, but that's fine. So I'm just going to find the low point here because, of course, it's not straight. There we go there. So there we go. It's as far as I can feel, it's even all the way around. That's nice. Where did I put the? There it is. Back. Let's get her lined up there. There we go. Perfect. There's the base. So that'll sit up there like that. That's better. That's a better thickness. I think what I'm going to do, while this dries, because I can't really do it, because I've got to build a platform in here. I've got to build a platform in here, and then figure out what sort of a light housing I'm going to have. That might not happen until next week. I've got some feelers out for a rotating beacon right now, but it has to be shipped from the States. So if I order it today, it'll probably be here by next weekend, and then I can see what sort of a platform I've got to build up for the lower. And then through each one of these will have uprights in it, and then there'll be glass sections, or actually in this case Lexan sections in there too. So there's our top. Yeah, actually go well. 2 pieces of dowel glued on like that, and that'll look like the vent. So that little piece there will have to get rounded out a little bit. And the vent isn't very big, so the dowels are a blast and a half to cut on either the table saw or the miter saw. Especially slivers. There's great. They fly all over the place. So there we go. So that'll be that, and then that'll go on top, and it'll look like the fatter vent. So, and then we'll have to cone the top just a little bit so water doesn't sit in there. So that's what we'll do. So first we're going to try this freehand. And what I found to work best is as it's cutting, you slowly rotate the dowel. And hopefully you don't move it back and forth too much. If I put a block there to stop it, that little sliver, once it's free, will jam, and then it just goes flying all over the place. Wish me luck. The vacuum sucked it up. Fantastic. All right. Let's try it again. See what I mean? They shoot all over the place. I'm not sure where that one ended up either. Oh, there it is. Look, took a big chunk out of it. Let's try this on the table saw.
Alright, give it a shot. We'll stand off to the side. What's behind me? Nothing. So in this case, it shoots out. My keyboard, bro. I handle my own. I'm not going to use any vacuum on this. I got a feeling as soon as this is cut, it's going down there. Alright, give it a shot.
So as I was cutting that, I came up with the idea, why don't I just leave a little piece on? I can use my hand saw, or just break it off and sand it. So that's what I'm gonna do. So this little guy here should just snap off like that, twist it off. There we go. There's the base. The bigger one, it'll just twist off as well. Look at that. Hey, success. So of course we'll sand those down, make them look pretty. And there's our little vent. Of course, we'll sand it around it and make it all look pretty. All right, on to the next. I think the best way to do this is not by power tools. Yesterday when I was doing the windows, I wore a little hole in my fingers there doing that. So yeah, we'll just do. I wore the holes in my fingers doing the same thing I'm just about to attempt right now. This is 80 grit. Nice and smooth. Not sure how we're coning that yet. What I might end up doing is, well, I want to glue it, so I don't want to put I was thinking about the filler compound and sticking that on. Sticking that on there like that, but it needs glue. I don't want to screw it down if I don't have to. No. This guy. I can tell if that's level. Oh, we have a little bit more to take off there. Oh, I got gouged. Oh, son of a gun, I got gouged. All right, we gotta take a bit more off. For me. So I have to take the edges off, because if you don't, you have a tendency to, that'll be the weak point, and that's where it'll split on you, of course. Everybody loves it when it does that. So there we go. Glue that on there like that. And then there's our vent. Pull it back here so you can see it. And there's our vent. So the only thing I'm going to do here is just going to be a dab of glue on there. You know what? Let's see how I know what that is. Dave in for the win. I think we might have to sand that down a little bit. I'm not 100% sure that's completely square. Let's find out right now. Oh, some guns. Of course, it goes on there like that. Now, how do I cone that on the inside? How do I cone that on the inside? All right, so 2 bits here. Quick little pilot hole with that one, and then there's the big coning one there. That should, as long as I can find center, which I think is right there. So I've got this clamped. I don't want it moving anywhere. So we'll just make a little pilot hole with that. Nothing too severe. Like that. Perfect, not quite centered, but anyway, let's see if we can correct it. Nice. I get some loose sandpaper. We'll get that divot, just smooth it out a little bit so we have good adhesion when we glue it. Oh, fantastic. Of course, I gotta sand all this off before I glue that on. All right. It's just a worn out piece. I burnt out the middle of it. Get your finger in there and just do back and forth. Don't take long for that glue to set up. It's good enough for this. I don't know if I need to cone that, maybe not. As long as I can get that on there straight, I think we're away. But this does have to be sanded off before I put that on, because I won't be able to get the sander up in here. No color differential. The base for the light, the top, and the uprights, everything's red. and then the ring below that, the platform and the ring below that are white. And it goes, then it alternates. This should be coming along nicely now. It is. You know, it's made out of 1/4-inch plywood, and you wouldn't think that'd be strong enough, but boy, oh boy, it sure is. Like I dropped this off, well, I picked up the Lighthouse, picked it up and brought it over here. So it was just about at the roof, and I've got, what are they, 8.5 or 9 foot ceilings in here. 8.5, 9 foot ceilings below the bump out, and it fell from that height right on it, and it only cracked 2. I was actually surprised that the glue cracked. Maybe I didn't have a good adhesion. Anyway, on to the next thing. We're going to build a new base for this, since I sanded this down way too much and it doesn't fit anymore. So let's go ahead and do that now. I just started the furnace up in here. It's a little chilly. So here we go. Let's draw this out into a cutter. Alright, there we go. There's the base. Sorry for the hum in the background. That's the garage here. Getting a little chilly in here. So we're just going to take this down, take the glue off. I've changed from 80 grit to 100, an old 100 that I've used before, so don't take too much material off. We just want to take the glue off, and then we're going to put the vent on. Way too much glue, but that's all right. Nothing nice about glue is it cleans up. All right. All right, we moved over to the table saw. Got the blade set just right. We're just going to take this down a little bit freehand. Stay proud of the line the whole time so I can sand it off. And there we go. Probably what I'm going to do is when I get it set back on there, I'm going to screw it down to the column so I can get the size just perfect, and then I'll take it over to the router and route it off. There's nothing worse than routing something that's not nice, because the router will follow all the imperfections, and of course it won't look nice. All right, let's go back to the column and fit it. All right, back at the column. I made witness lines just so everything lines up nicely. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there going, "Oh my God, can't you even cut anything right?" Well, you know what? It's upside down. Like that. Here we are. So I'm going to go ahead and change the sander back over to 80 grit, so it's nice and coarse. And then we'll take this down even, get it all looking pretty, and then we'll set everything up over at the router table and ease that edge nicely with a 3/4 inch round over bit. So there we go. I took all that down. It's feels very nice, actually. There's a gap here, so I do have some high spots. I'd rather sand off the high spots than force this down, because it'll put too much pressure on it and it'll crack somewhere. So there we go there. I'm going to remove this now and we'll set everything up over at the router table, and we'll run a, we'll just ease this nicely with the router. So what I've done, I've run a test piece, and that blade might be just a touch high because I've got a lip there. So I'll change that quickly. Oh, there we go. A nice little ridge there, perfect. That'll sand right out. A little bit of sanding paper. That's cool beans. So that's the top there. These will fill in nicely. You'll put the railings in. So we'll head back over to the table and we'll just give this a quick little sand up, clean it off. So here we are. We'll get this all nicely cleaned up. You see a couple little burn marks there. It's no big deal. We'll clean that up right now. So there we go. Feels great. This is the underside. Who cares with the underside? I don't. So we're going to set the column back up, and we're going to keep fitting this until everything fits nice and flush. Okay, as I look around here, there's a gap here, high spot there, high spot along here, low spot there. So we'll just quickly mark those. Well, that is very nice. This fits quite nicely. There'll be some hand sanding to do at the end, but that's all right. Nice and, oh yeah. That. We'll get the peak quickly. You know what? That top's off. It's on an angle. Oh shoot! No, we'll have to fix it. I'll get it fixed. Just sand that. But there we go. We'll sit there like that. Get the railings up. Railings are same height, roughly the same height as the base here. There we go. Oh, yeah. Oh shoot! We'll have to sand that down a little bit. Oh. Make cookie jars. Never thought of that. Make cookie jars. I should do that. Bet you they'll sell. So there. It'll sit up there like that with a rotating beacon, hopefully a rotating beacon in the middle. So there we go, that's coming along nicely. Very, very nicely. I think I'm going to screw that. We'll just leave that right on. All right, well that's a good 3 hours in the shop, so that's okay for today. So to wrap things up, we shaved down the top. We got a new bottom for the top that we'll shave down later. This broke, we fixed it. We did this, did the top, flared it all in quite nicely. Windows are on. There's some little straightening, not straightening, but a little bit of filing to do on the windows still to get them looking perfectly. So a little bit of filling in to do. The shack is on and fully secured. All the little cracks are filled in, so everything's nice and strong.
what I'm probably going to do is on the top, on the joint, so nothing separates any further than it has, because there's a piece here that has. I'm not terribly happy with it. So I'm going to flip this on its side, inject glue into it, and then leave it, and it'll hold forever. And then once this top's on too, and it's going to be not only screwed in 3 places, it's going to be screwed in all 8, and that'll just hold this whole thing together. Should be able to drop it off the back of a pickup truck, and it should be fine. Anyway, there we go. So until next time, thanks for watching. Please ring the little ding-a-ling-a-ling bell, and you'll be notified of every video that comes out. Please subscribe and like. Until the next time, see you folks. GoPro turn off.